Today we'll be going over area of composite figures. Alright, so step 1, we need to separate the figure into shapes with areas you know how to find. So here's our example. We see that we have a semicircle and a trapezoid. Okay, next is find the area of those shapes. So we know for our semicircle, our area is pi r squared divided by 2, because it's a semicircle. And for our trapezoid, our formula is height over 2 times base 1 plus base 2. So let's find our area for the semicircle first. We know our diameter is 14, so that must make our radius 7. So that gives us pi times 7 squared over 2. And we know that pi equals 3.14. 7 times 7 is 49, divided by 2. This gives us 76.93 centimeters squared. Perfect. Okay, let's do our trapezoid. We can see that our height is 14. So we put 14 over 2 times base 1, which is 18, plus base 2 is 24. So this gives us 7 times 42, which gives us 294 centimeters squared. We're finding area, so always remember to square your units. Okay, we're not done yet. Our last step is to add all the areas together. Okay, so we have this area and this one. So 76.93 plus 294, which gives us 370.93 centimeters squared. So that's all we have to do. Pretty easy, right? Okay, let's move on to these examples down here. So, our first step is separate the figure into shapes with areas we know. So I see a large rectangle with a smaller one inside. So let's find the area of our larger rectangle first. Rectangle is length times width. So it's 15 times 8, which gives us 120 feet squared. Then let's find the area of the smaller one, which would be 3 times 5, which is 15 feet squared. Okay, this time we're not going to be adding our shapes together because we want to get rid of the smaller one. So we're going to do 120, our outer or larger rectangle area, minus our smaller area, because the smaller area is not shaded. This gives us 105 feet squared. So 105 feet squared is our answer. Alright, so let's do this house looking shape. We have a triangle and a rectangle. So our triangle would be base times height divided by 2. So our base would be 8, and our height is 3. So that gives us 8 times 3 over 2, or 24 over 2, which gives us 12 yards squared. Now we have a rectangle. Rectangle is length times width. So our length is 8, and our width is 6. 6 times 8 equals 48 yards squared. Okay, so all we have to do now is add these two areas together. So we have 48 plus 12 gives us 60 yards squared. Perfect. We're just rolling along. Alright. So let's do this one. I see a parallelogram and a trapezoid. Okay. To find a trapezoid, we have the height over 2 times base 1 plus base 2. And for a parallelogram, we have base times height. So let's do our trapezoid first. Our height will be 4, because our height is always the line that comes perpendicular to our base. And if it's perpendicular, that makes a 90-degree angle. So our height would be 4 over 2 plus base 1 and base 2. So 12 plus 8. This gives us 2 times 20, or 40 feet squared. Okay, next we have base times height for our parallelogram. We see our base is 15 times our height of 4. This gives us 60 feet squared. So here's our areas that we're working with. Our last step is add them together. So we have 60 plus 40 equals 100 feet squared. And that's our answer. Okay, let's go over here. So we have a semicircle and a rectangle. So semicircle will be pi r squared divided by 2. And a rectangle will be length times width. Let's do our semicircle first. We know pi equals 3.14. And then we bring this 6 up here. So that means our diameter is 6. So our radius would be 3. Squared divided by 2. And that gives us 28.26 divided by 2, or 14.13 feet squared. So there's our area for our semicircle. Next we have length times width, which equals 6 times 4, or 24 feet squared. So now all we have to do is add our semicircle and our rectangle together. Plus 24. This gives us 38.13 feet squared. Alright, so let's move on to our next shape. So I see a semicircle and a semicircle, which added together would be one circle. And I see a square. So let's do our circle first. We know the area of a circle is pi r squared. We know our diameter is 10, so that must make our radius 5. So that gives us 3.14 times 5 squared, which gives us 78.5 millimeters squared. Next we're going to find our area of our square, which is length times width, which is 10 times 10, which which equals 100 millimeters squared. So here's our area for our circle and our rectangle. Now we just need to add them together. We have 100 plus 78.5 gives us 178.5 millimeters squared. Perfect. Okay, last one. I want you guys to stop the video and try this one on your own. Okay, now check your answer. So first you had to find the area of a square, which would be 4 times 4, which is 16. Then the area of a semicircle, which would be pi times radius squared divided by 2, which is 3.14 times 4 divided by 2, which gives us 6.28 feet squared. Then we take this area and then we're going to subtract 6.28 from it because we don't want this non-shaded area. So 16 minus 6.28 equals 9.72 feet squared. Right. Good job, guys.